here, On Target Training out here in Oregon. Before we get started, if you enjoy the content of this video or any of the other videos we produce, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Doing those four things helps promote the videos in the algorithm, and we're so close to 100,000 subscribers, it would be great to be able to get there sooner rather than later. So if you like this video, share it with friends and family, invite them to subscribe, and please comment. Tell us what you think of the subject we're talking about today or in any other video that you watch. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your perspectives, and your feedback. Today, I wanted to share with you some thoughts on another polymer frame pistol that I think very highly of. That pistol is the CZ P10C. This is a polymer frame gun that has some things I really like about it, and then there are a few things that I'm not incredibly nuts about. What do I like? Well, to start with, the ergonomics of the gun fit my hand very well. Now, the gun comes with a couple of different backstrap options, so if you have larger hands, they comes with a medium and a larger size backstrap setup that you can install. This one came set up with the standard one, which I believe is small, and it fits very, very well my hand. The CZ also has, and this is something I really like, it's why I like Smith & Wessons and Glocks very much, is it has a low bore axis in relation to where the trigger is and where the gun is cycling. It sits low in your hands. Some other designs have the bore much higher and farther away, and for me, with my physical handicap, the low bore axis really helps me mitigate recoil and stay on target. So when I'm firing, right, that bore axis really does make a big difference. What else is there to like? Well, it comes with 15 round magazines if you live in a state that still allows that. We'll see what happens here in Oregon. The situation here, unfortunately, is headed in a way that I think is very anti-Second Amendment, and they're doing everything they can to take away constitutionally protected rights like the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms. Magazines are part of the arm itself. But anyway, I digress slightly. The gun comes from the factory with 2 magazines. I've talked about this before in other videos. In general, I feel like any gun should come with a minimum of 3 magazines. A minimum of 3 magazines. And in this case, you get 2, so of course I had to acquire a couple more. So, good magazine capacity, so that gets you 15 plus 1 in the chamber, so 16 round capacity. Concealability, it's similar in size to the Glock 19, and again, I think that's a really good balance. The P10C is a good balance because it's not so big, it's actually a compact pistol, and that allows easier easier management. You go to a smaller gun, right, you're just going to have to do more work manually to actually get the gun to hit where you want it to. You're going to have to do more to mitigate felt recoil. It's just not as easy to shoot. The larger a handgun, a full-size handgun, is easier to shoot, in my experience from training and from shooting myself, than a subcompact. So the compact size of this pistol is really, really nice. Good sights right out of the box, 3-dot sight system. Very well done in terms of the way in which they're designed. You can obviously still, with this ledge here, you could still cycle the gun if you had to do one-handed stoppage throw, where you had to run it across your belt or whatever, or your boot or whatever it is. So that's nice. The sights are easy to pick up. The gun is also accurate. So is it a tack driver? Well, I don't know. I sort of feel like all of the guns that I own probably are capable of greater accuracy than I can consistently deliver just because I'm a human being and I've got a physical handicap. I wish I didn't have it, but that's the way it is. So totally acceptable combat accuracy, and again, fairly easy to shoot. One of the other things I especially like about this gun is the trigger. So you'll see, this sort of Glock-inspired sort of safety here. The trigger itself is really good. It's got some squish up here, and then the break is right at about 4.5 pounds according to the measurements I did. So it's nice and distinct, quick reset. It's really a good trigger out of the box. I mean, I'm super impressed with it. What don't I like? Well, there are a couple of things that I don't like. This trigger, for me, if I don't get all the way across the front of it, I'm not going to be able to engage that trigger safety. And on a couple of presentations that I was doing from the holster the other day, as I came out, I couldn't get that. I couldn't get to where it was. And it was a really weird kind of experience because I'm like, where is the trigger? So that's a training issue. That's, partially because I shoot different guns. But that's something just to be aware of. Now, the trigger itself, in terms of the way it breaks and the reset, is exceptional. The other thing I didn't like is that in shooting the gun, it's light up front because it comes with a plastic recoil spring. And it's not it's a captured spring, but it's not like, Glock has gone to where they essentially have a spring and another spring, which I think does a better job in terms of just actuating the gun and the way in which the recoil is. But I did purchase a steel guide rod and spring, and that made a significant difference. The guide rod that comes with a gun is about 3 ounces. The one that I purchased is 8 ounces. So that increase of weight up front does mitigate some of the snappiness or the recoil of the gun itself. The other thing, and you'll note, I put skateboard tape across the back here. The stippling is really, really aggressive. Aggressive enough that when you're really shooting and you're really, driving the gun hard, and you're shooting a lot, like I like to go to the range and shoot a fair amount, shoot 300-400 rounds, whatever, you really begin to feel it. So I kind of feel like that is just a little bit overdone. They didn't get the stippling right. So other than that, and the getting used to the trigger and the light recoil spring, that 3 ounce recoil plastic spring, which is just, I was feeling like there was a lot of muzzle flip until I swapped out the recoil spring, and that made a huge difference. Other than that, I think it's a pretty outstanding pistol. And the prices on the pistols have really, really come down. There's some phenomenal deals out there right now on these pistols that are just like scary good. A couple $100 less than you'd pay for a Glock. Couple $100 less than you might pay for an M&P, and some other names out there. So if you don't have a lot of money, but you want a quality gun, and we have to all acknowledge the CZ line of pistols is outstanding, the CZ might be a product you want to look at. And what's interesting is this pistol works with some of the Glock holsters that I have, which is really nice. And in fact, there's one that I have for a Glock 19. I've been running my Glock 45 in it, but the Glock 45 with a light on it, and I put that same light on the gun. Works great. Fits the whole holster fantastic. So I don't have to buy yet another holster. So the bottom line, guys, is I'm very impressed with the pistol itself. If you haven't shot one of these, go out and shoot it. I think they're pretty outstanding. I did a review on this gun like 10 years ago, or I don't know if it was 10 years, but 8 years ago or something. The pistol belonged to a good friend of mine out in New Hampshire when I was living there, and my friend Mr. Z, is what I'll call it. Mr. Z was picking up pistols every couple of weeks because he had an addiction, and he liked buying pistols and shooting them and then swapping out and trying some different stuff. So I shot his. I was like, man, that's really fantastic. One of these days I'll have to acquire one. Well, it's one of these days and I have acquired one. So that's a brief summary, relatively brief, about 10 minutes or so, talking about the CZ P10C, a pistol I think very highly of. Thanks so much for watching. Finally, and as always, stay safe.